Hi all, I'm Martin and welcome to another laser cut series video. First off, I'd like to apologise for my absence on here. I have been rearranging my workshop and making it warm for winter. I have remodelled this back wall because I was getting drafts through the garage door that I don't use. So I just wanted to make it that bit warmer and give you something a bit better to look at than a garage door. But while I'm on this organisational bandwagon, I'm going to be making some boxes today. I'm trying to resolve some storage issues in my workshop and I wanted to create something versatile that I could configure the way I wanted it in different areas of the workshop. One of the best ways I find to get organised in the workshop is using sheet goods. This is where I find my 100-watt laser cutter comes in very handy. In this video, I want to guide you through some design aspects and skills that are invaluable. Not just for this project, but skills that are well worth keeping in your skills arsenal when it comes to creating and designing for laser cutting. Just a quick side note, this ties in nicely with a yearly challenge that I like to take part in, and it's set by one of my favourite podcasts, the Three Northern Makers. They have general making chit chat and all round great fun and bit of banter that's in there, and it's well worth a listen. Their challenge this year is to use sheet goods only.
One sheet.
One sheet? Let me just check that. No, actually, it's only half a sheet.
Salt water will warp the wood, so keep your tears in your eyes where they belong.
Now we've had that cheeky plug for my favourite podcast, let's jump right into the project and start with the materials. Today I will be using 3mm ply and 3mm MDF. Now, nowadays, you'll find that plywood is that little bit more expensive. So I think personally for a utility project like this, the MDF is well worth considering. Now, MDF's not to everybody's taste, but it can be easily finished with paint or oil finishes just to change that look that you may or may not want. I'll cover some of that topic later on in the video. Now that we know the material thickness, we can start with the basic box construction. This method that I'm going to show you is my go-to method for constructing finger joints on laser cut boxes. If you think of the box like you would with a paper box that you would cut out and fold up, that's where I start constructing in light burn. It means that I'm less open to errors with regards to corresponding faces, so I'm less likely to make a mistake. Now, my old method used to be I would set out my finger joints that I would want. I'd lay this onto the side that I'd want to cut in my finger joints, but I've found over the past that if, again, with the parts apart and doing it with this method, I've found you're then leaving yourself open to, say, alignment issues, because if you don't get this quite right here, it could be slightly out of line, even by like 1/2 mil, and then it means then your finger joints don't all line up. What I tend to do is I'll set out my spacings how I want them. As you'll see here, it is locked, so I cannot like edit this or delete it or make a mistake. So this is my like go-to template set. Now I can then right click and duplicate how many I want. I can then move that over. Now what these are set as is actually the thickness of both the two materials. Now the reason I do this is because I can then snap this to center to the middle of the two joints, and then what I do is I'll select every other one. So those three are selected. I can then group those, and then I'll select the others and group those. This then can now be replicated throughout all the boxes. So again, I just grab those, I'll duplicate that ready for doing further along there, which I'll move later on. But this means now that I can select, if I select this side face and the first group selection using shift, that now means I've got a set of fingers with that face, and now I can subtract those from that face. Now I've subtracted that, that will give you the fingers for that piece. And then obviously you do that on the corresponding face. So you select that face, you select your other group. So now by subtracting one set from the other, you'll know that these are going to be lined up, that this now will always be a set that will line up with this. So that's now set for that side. And then I'll then do the same this side. The next phase of my box designs were to create stacking boxes. So what I'm doing here is I am removing a section from the top and I'm adding a section to the bottom. So what you remove from the top needs to be on the bottom for it to interlock, essentially. Now I've done the same. I've created the profiles that I want to the width of the boxes that I'm designing. So what I've done is on this, because I've done the fingers first, I've had to remove the 3mm from either end, which you'll see will line up. But what you can then do is go from corner to corner, bring this into here. You can then select both and subtract. I'll try that again, subtract, and then that will give you your cutout. You then obviously now need to add that cutout to the bottom. And as you can see here, I've removed the 3mm off either end for this to suit. So when you snap it into this corner, let's get it on the corner. It then snaps in place, that's all lines up. And there's, again, you select the two and then you can merge those together. That then gives you the cutout that will then correspond to that cutout there. So now you have a stacking side. So here's another tip with regards to making things modular. What I've done is essentially to try and help this all be universal. This small docking tray at the bottom or the top tray to finish things off. But I also then use that tray for a glue caddy. So it gives me multiple choices from the same file as to how I'm going to use it. This then is in multiples for the other components. So what you find then is that two of these sides, if I create two and snap them together, are one of the sides of the drawers. And then again, the same thing applies, that if you then take those two and go up to the lin bin, you've got the same thing applies again. So this now means that this is then a duplicate of 3. So it means that you can combine parts together and still have them all lining up. Another thing that I did to make things more universal is this glue caddy has a tray that then sits in the top. So if you have these on different layers as to what you want to cut into them, I can turn on and off, as I've got described here, what I want for each tray. So if I turn off the pink layer and the grey layer, then this is the plain tray. So if I cut that, it'll be a plain tray for the top of the caddy. So it can be removable, it doesn't have to have the links in. If I then want to make that the base, I can then add back in the bow tie cuts that's then allow me to link in the tray to the other parts. And then if I want the glue caddy tray, which I don't want the side cutouts, but then I do want the inside cutout, that then cuts those out for me. So you can see there where if you play with layers, you can turn them on and off to suit what you're cutting out, depending on what version you're making. The 3mm version is fairly lightweight. Now you could scale this file up to the 3.4mm, which is a fairly common size in plywood. But do bear in mind, when you do scale up, you will require larger material because you're scaling the entire design up in size. If you're going to create the stronger 6mm version, you would either have to extend the material to allow for the extra thickness, or increase the tab depth on the material to allow for the thickness. Now when it comes to that, you've got to decide which way you're going to go. You either go everything larger on the size of the material, or everything deeper on the tabs. You can't mix and match. You need to do one or the other. If you like what you see with regards to laser cut design, please like and subscribe to follow along to see more. There are future plans for this channel to evolve to facilitate a website where I'll be making plans and files available for those that have been requesting them. But anyway, right, let's get back into the video and we'll carry on showing you what I'm doing. Once you have all your design laid out, it's time to start thinking about how you want to finish it. This design has a locking bow tie design, so if you're happy with the raw finish look, then you can lock it all together and you're done. To create the locking bow tie design, I actually had to rotate the bow ties to a certain angle so that they wouldn't affect the ones from above, because originally I tried to do them straight and it made the side walls far too thin. So by orientating them at 45 degrees, that then alleviated the problem. Once that was sorted, a few test runs just to get that snug fit right with the offset, and we're good to go. Your other options would be to paint or encase the whole thing. If you were just making drawers as an example, you could easily encase that in plywood or another material and create an external box to cover it. You could leave it unglued so that you could reconfigure it at a later date. You also could glue the entire thing together so that it's more permanent. With regards to paint or stain, the world's your oyster. But just be careful with hard wax oils, as in the past I've had limited success on plywood, and I've found that, say, a pre-colour stain from like Rubio gives you a far better finish than you would be trying to put a dark stain onto plywood. I find dark colours best if you're trying to hide those laser cut edges. Obviously they're that little bit darker. It's far easier to cover them with a dark colour. If you like the raw look like I do in my workshop, I tend to just finish my laser cut projects with a homemade wax. Now that that's done, it's time to carry on organising. But what shall I do with all this? Well, I hear a challenge you're calling. See you in the next one.